They say a parent's intuition is a force of nature, a silent alarm that rings only in the heart. It's a feeling that cuts through the noise of daily life, whispering that something is wrong, even when the world insists everything is fine. This is a story about that intuition and the ferocious love that answers its call.
Dad, you've been busy lately, haven't you? Chloe's voice trembled slightly over the phone. Her father, retired Major General James Kim, gripped the receiver tightly. He'd commanded a division of thousands for 30 years, faced down dangers most people only see in movies, but the slightest tremor in his daughter's voice could undo him. He sensed something was wrong. "Chloe, honey, let's meet up. I can grab dinner before heading home," he offered, his voice gentle. But her reply was jarringly different from what he expected. "Oh, Dad, I'm just so swamped at the hospital. Some other time, okay?" Then a sharp noise crackled through the line, like a door being slammed shut. The call ended abruptly. James let out a deep sigh. His wife, Eleanor, approached, her face etched with worry. "She said no again, didn't she? What is going on, James? It's been 3 years since she got married, and it feels like we've lost our daughter. She used to call us every single day." James shook his head, a cold feeling settling in his gut. "She used to come over 3 times a week. I'm grateful her husband seems to take care of her, but it feels like he's trying to possess her. I heard he won't even let her see her old friends." At those words, James's expression hardened. Something wasn't just off, it was deeply wrong. Chloe had always been his little girl. Even in high school, she'd call him just to check in while she was out with friends. In college, she never missed a weekend watching action movies with him. He had been a busy general, but he never missed time with his daughter. Was it normal for her to cut contact like this after getting married? What was stranger was the tone of her voice. She used to call him Dad with such warmth. Now it was stiff, almost formal. He called her back. "Chloe, it's Dad. I really want to see you, just for a little while." This time, something even more disturbing happened. Her voice was barely a whisper, and she kept pausing, as if choosing her words under duress. "Dad, I'm just really busy. Lots of overtime at the hospital and chores at home." But James's trained ear picked up other sounds. The faint murmur of a television in the background. The creak of a door opening and closing. "Chloe, are you okay? You sound strange." "I'm fine, Dad. Just coming down with a cold." But then, a man's harsh voice cut through the call, clear and menacing. "Who are you talking to? Why is it taking so long? Hang up. Now." The threat in that voice was unmistakable. Chloe's voice became frantic. "Dad, I have to go. My husband's home." Click. The line went dead. James slowly lowered the receiver, his mind racing. The fear in Chloe's voice, the undisguised menace in that man's tone. After 3 decades of command, his intuition was screaming at him. "Eleanor," he said, his voice grim. "I'm going to Chloe's hospital tomorrow." "Something's wrong." Eleanor nodded, her eyes welling up. "Please do. Our daughter isn't herself. I called her a few days ago, and I swear I heard someone shouting in the background. She said it was the TV, but it sounded like a person, an angry person." James's suspicion deepened. Could her husband be mistreating her? The thought burrowed into his mind and wouldn't let go. Looking back, there had been odd signs even at the wedding. The groom's mother, Susan, had been incredibly demanding, even dragging Chloe to the bathroom to redo her makeup, claiming it was too heavy. Chloe had looked on the verge of tears, but they'd said nothing, not wanting to upset the new in-laws. The Park family had dictated everything, the location of their condo in downtown Chicago, the furniture, even the clothes Chloe was allowed to wear. He regretted telling Chloe to just adapt, to be a good new family member. He regretted it bitterly. That night, James couldn't sleep. The worry for his daughter was a physical weight on his chest. When he finally drifted off around 3 a.m., his dreams were filled with images of Chloe, crying. She was covered in bruises, reaching for him. "Dad, help me. I'm hurting so much. Save me." He woke with a jolt, his heart pounding, his back drenched in cold sweat. This wasn't just a dream. This was a warning. His daughter was in danger. The next morning, James drove to the hospital where Chloe worked as a nurse. It was an anxiety he hadn't felt in 30 years. He had faced countless crises as a soldier, but anything involving his daughter left him feeling powerless. He hesitated in the parking lot. What if he was overreacting? But he couldn't ignore his gut. As he waited, he saw something that made his blood run cold. Chloe emerged from a back door, walking stiffly, unnaturally. She moved with a pained caution, and worse, she kept glancing over her shoulder, as if terrified of being followed. When he finally saw her up close in the hospital lobby, the shock was immense. She was gaunt, with dark circles under her eyes. But what truly horrified him was the faint, purple bruise near her left eye, poorly concealed with makeup. And under the scarf wrapped tightly around her neck, he could see the edge of another mark. "Chloe," he called out. She spun around, startled, a look of pure panic on her face, the look of someone caught doing something forbidden. "Dad, what are you doing here? How did you know? Who told you?" Her voice was a mix of shock and despair. James stepped closer, his eyes scanning her. She had no energy. Her once full cheeks were hollowed out, her bright eyes were dull and lifeless. Her shoulders slumped as if under an immense weight, and her fingernails were bitten down to the quick. "You look exhausted. Are you eating properly?" She forced a weak smile. "I'm fine, Dad. Just tired from all the overtime." But James saw right through it. 30 years in the military had taught him how to read a lie. Just then, one of Chloe's senior colleagues, a nurse in her mid-40s named Helen, walked over. "General Kim, it's an honor to meet you. Chloe has told me so much about you." But Helen's expression was serious, her eyes filled with concern as she looked at Chloe. James greeted her politely. "It's a pleasure. Thank you for taking care of my daughter." Helen glanced at Chloe, then spoke with a meaningful look. "General, could I have a word with you in private? It's important." Chloe immediately jumped in, her voice trembling. "Helen, what are you talking about?" "It's nothing. Dad is a busy man." The fear in her voice was palpable. Helen placed a gentle hand on Chloe's shoulder. "Chloe, this is too much for you to handle alone. Your father deserves to know. We need to help." James's face turned to stone. "Help with what? What's going on?" Helen led him to a quiet bench behind the hospital, Chloe trailing behind them anxiously. She took a deep breath. "General, Chloe is going through a very difficult time. I've noticed some things, bruises on her wrists a few days ago. Not just one or two, a cluster of them. Like someone grabbed her hard. And there were strange marks on her neck, too." James's heart plummeted. "Bruises? Tell me everything." "They were clearly finger marks," Helen said, her voice low. "I've seen them on her arms and shoulders on other days. She always has an excuse. She bumped into a door. She fell down the stairs. But I've been a nurse for 20 years. I know the difference between an accidental bruise and one from violence." James's fists clenched. He knew what those marks meant. He'd seen them on prisoners of war. "Were there other injuries?" Helen nodded grimly. "I've seen her limping some days. I've heard her crying in the bathroom. But she begged me not to say anything. I didn't know what to do, but I can't just stand by and watch anymore." Rage boiled inside him, but he kept his composure, honed by decades of crisis management. "What should I do?" "You need to have an honest talk with her," Helen advised. "But don't push too hard." Victims of domestic violence often lie to protect themselves, especially to family. They feel ashamed, and they're terrified of what the abuser will do if they find out. James thanked her and walked back to his daughter. Chloe was waiting, wringing her hands, her eyes darting around nervously. "Chloe, let's go get dinner. Just you and me. We'll go to that steakhouse you love, like old times." She recoiled in panic. "I can't, Dad. I have to go home. Ethan is waiting for me. I can't be late. I have to make dinner, get his mother's medicine." In that moment, James knew for certain. The desperation in her voice, the terror of being late, it was all the proof he needed. "Chloe, I learned one thing in 30 years of service. People can't look you in the eye when they lie. Their voices shake and they fidget with their hands. Just like you're doing right now. Chloe's face went pale. What are you talking about, Dad? I'm fine. I'm just adjusting to married life. He reached for her hand, but she flinched and pulled away, instinctively hiding her wrist. It was a reaction born of fear, the fear of being struck. That single movement confirmed his worst nightmare. Chloe, tell me the truth. Is someone hurting you at home? She shook her head, but tears welled in her eyes. No, Dad, I'm okay. It's what all married couples go through. Just then, her phone rang. The screen read Ethan. Her face contorted in a mask of pure terror, as if she'd just received a death sentence. Hello, she whispered, her voice shaking. The man's harsh voice was audible even from a distance. Where are you? Why are you late? Who are you with? My shift just ended. I'm on my way, she stammered. After hanging up, she turned to James. Dad, I really have to go. Ethan is worried. James couldn't hold back any longer. Chloe, is he hitting you? Tell me the truth. I will handle this. She glanced around wildly. Dad, don't say that. What if someone hears? We're fine. We just need time to adjust. He wanted to scream, to shake her, but he remembered Helen's advice. Don't push too hard. All right, he said, his voice soft but firm. But if you ever need me, you call. I am always on your side. She nodded and hurried away, a lonely, fragile figure disappearing into the crowd. The next day, James called an old subordinate, Detective Mark Choi, a man he trusted implicitly who now worked in the Chicago PD's Violent Crimes Unit. Mark, I need your help. It's urgent. General? What's wrong? You sound serious. I think my daughter is a victim of domestic violence. I don't have hard proof, but all the signs are there. Say no more, sir. I'm on my way. They met at a quiet diner. James laid out everything, the bruises Helen had seen, the threatening phone call, his daughter's terrified behavior. Mark took meticulous notes. Okay, General. Let's start with the son-in-law. What's his name and where does he work? Ethan Park. He's a manager at Apex Construction. He's 32, 2 years older than Chloe. Got it, Mark said. I'll start by talking to his coworkers, the neighbors. In the meantime, you should watch his apartment for a few days. But be careful. Don't get caught. These abusers are often paranoid about their public image. James nodded grimly. Don't worry. Reconnaissance is my specialty. 2 days later, Mark returned with a report. His face was grave. General, this guy's reputation is terrible. Coworkers say he has a short fuse and a nasty temper when he drinks. He gets violent when he's stressed. James's face darkened. There's more, isn't there? He screams at junior employees and throws things when he's angry. One colleague testified that he constantly complains about his wife, saying she's the source of all his stress. They say he tries to control every aspect of her life, who she sees, where she goes. He demands a report of her every move. Mark continued, but the bigger problem might be his family. His mother, Susan, is notorious. She bullied his first wife so badly that she ended up hospitalized for stress, and they divorced within a year. That evening, James began his surveillance. From his car in the apartment complex parking lot, he watched the 15th floor window. Around 10 p.m., a drunk Ethan Park stumbled into the building. 30 minutes later, the shouting began, faint but audible. James got out of his car and moved closer, taking the elevator to the 14th floor and walking up the stairs to the 15th. The voices from the hallway were horrifyingly clear. I'm sorry, Ethan. I'll do it again. Please forgive me, Chloe pleaded, her voice trembling. James's heart felt like it would explode. Do it again? You're useless. You can't do one simple thing right. Crash. The sound of breaking glass. He wanted to break down the door, but he forced himself to wait, to gather more evidence. He began recording with his phone. Ow! A small cry of pain. His daughter was hurt. James's hands started to shake. Then, he heard his mother-in-law's voice. Is this all you can do? Pathetic. You make my son's life so difficult, you incompetent girl. Susan was there, joining in on the abuse. Then came the most chilling sound of all. Smack. The unmistakable sound of a hand hitting flesh. Ugh. Chloe's pained whimper. A tremor of pure rage went through James. In 30 years of fighting enemies, he had never felt a fury like this. The next day, he played the recording for Mark. That's more than enough, General. This is clear, sustained abuse. It's time to act. James's eyes were cold steel. Tomorrow is Thanksgiving. She said they're going to his parents' house. I'm going to see this for myself. Sir, be careful, Mark warned. Don't be impulsive. We need to follow legal procedure. If you provoke him, he could take it out on her later. James reassured him. My 30 years in the service weren't for nothing. I won't be reckless. But my first priority is getting my daughter out of there. On Thanksgiving Day, James arrived near the Park family's apartment building. He disguised himself as a delivery driver to get past the doorman and observe the 15th floor. Around 1 p.m., the shouting started. What is this? You can't even cook a proper meal. It was Ethan's father, David. This is what you bring for Thanksgiving? You're an embarrassment to this family. Susan's shrill voice joined in. Is this the best you can do? What will the neighbors think? James crept up to the 15th floor hallway and listened. He peered through the peephole. Chloe was on her knees, with her mother-in-law standing over her, jabbing a finger in her face. I'm sorry, Mother. I'll make it again. I started at 4 a.m., I thought. Chloe's voice was broken. Pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. A nurse, and you can't even handle simple housework. Susan shrieked. Just then, Ethan came out of the kitchen. He stormed towards Chloe. Mom's right. How could you bring this? You're embarrassing me in front of my own family. He slapped her hard across the face. James saw red. I'm sorry, Ethan. I'm so sorry. I was wrong, Chloe sobbed, a bright red handprint blooming on her cheek. Sorry isn't good enough. Susan screamed, grabbing a handful of Chloe's hair and yanking her head back. Chloe cried out in pain. But what Ethan did next shattered any remaining restraint James had. He picked up the food Chloe had dropped on the floor and threw it in her face. Make it again. Lick it off the floor and make it again. That was it. 30 years of military discipline vanished in an instant. Chloe. James kicked the door open. It slammed against the wall with a deafening crash, silencing the entire apartment. The Park family froze, staring in shock. Dad? Chloe looked at him, her eyes wide with terror. Her hair was a mess, her cheek was swollen, and her face was smeared with food. James strode to his daughter and gently helped her to her feet. Are you okay, Chloe? Dad's here now. His eyes took in the fresh handprint on her cheek, the bruises on her neck, the scratch marks on her arms. A cold, commanding aura filled the room, the same presence that had made thousands of soldiers stand at attention. Who, he began, his voice as cold as ice, laid a hand on my daughter. Ethan stammered, Sir. General, this is a misunderstanding. We were just teaching her our family's way of doing things. Teaching her. James's glare was withering. Is this how you teach? By hitting a woman? By throwing food in her face? I've never seen a lesson like this in my entire career. Susan stepped forward. This is a private family matter. A family matter? James's voice dropped an octave. Hitting my daughter is a family matter? Treating a human being like an animal is your family way. Chloe grabbed his arm. Dad, please stop. It's my fault. I didn't make the food right. James looked at his daughter, his heart breaking at the fear in her eyes. Chloe, what did you do wrong? Tell me. Exactly what did you do wrong? She just shook her head, speechless. He turned his gaze back to the family. Ethan Park, you hit my daughter. Susan Park, you pulled her hair. And David Park, you just stood there and encouraged it. You think this is normal? David forced an awkward laugh. General, it was just for discipline. Young people need guidance. Discipline. James took a step forward. You call degrading and assaulting my daughter discipline? Let me be clear. What you have done is not education. It is torture. James pulled out his phone. Ethan, Susan, David. I've been watching this apartment for days. I have evidence. Ethan's face went white. Evidence? That's illegal. Recording what can be heard from a public hallway is perfectly legal, James said, playing the audio from 2 nights before. Ethan's drunken rage, the sound of breaking glass, and Chloe's cries of pain filled the silent room. This is just the beginning. I have testimony from Chloe's coworkers. Photos of her injuries. A full report on your reputation at work, Ethan, including your violent tendencies and your drinking problem. David's voice trembled. General, we were wrong. Please forgive us. It will never happen again. Forgiveness? James scoffed. A true apology is shown through actions, not words. You tormented my daughter for 3 years. If you were truly sorry, you'd sign the divorce papers without a fight. Just then, the doorbell rang. James opened it to reveal Detective Mark Choi. General, am I late? Mark flashed his badge. Chicago PD. We received a report of domestic violence. The Park family looked like they'd seen a ghost. This is a serious crime, Mark said calmly, taking out his notepad. Especially when it's repeated and systematic. Charges can include assault, battery, and issuing threats. Chloe, I need you to tell me everything that's happened. Don't leave anything out. With her father by her side, Chloe finally broke down and told them everything. The constant abuse, the threats, the beatings. James looked at Ethan, his eyes filled with contempt. I've seen cowards like you my whole life. Men who act tough with those weaker than them, but crumble in the face of real strength. You're a pathetic bully. Ethan Park and Susan Park, Mark announced, you are both under investigation for assault. A restraining order will be filed immediately. A week later, Chloe and James sat in a lawyer's office. The divorce proceedings will be smooth, the lawyer said. We have more than enough evidence. You can expect a significant settlement for damages. I'd estimate between $75,000 and $100,000. Also, Ethan Park has been fired. His company has a zero-tolerance policy for this kind of behavior. Chloe found her voice. Will I be safe? What if he comes after me? The restraining order is ironclad, the lawyer assured her. If he comes within 500 feet of you, he will be arrested immediately. 6 months later, James came home to a completely different scene. Chloe was in the kitchen, humming as she prepared dinner. She was radiant, her face full of life, her movements confident and free. Dad, you're home. I made that beef stew you love, she said, beaming. As they ate, she told him, Dad, I'm going on a second date with that man Helen introduced me to. He's a doctor, and he's really kind. He knows about my past, and he told me he admires my strength. James smiled. That's wonderful, honey. But take your time. You deserve someone who truly cherishes you. He wants to meet you, she laughed. But he says he's terrified of meeting a 2-star general. The following Sunday, Dr. Danielson came to their home. He was polite, sincere, and treated Chloe with visible tenderness and respect. As he left, he shook James's hand. General, Chloe is a precious person. I will do my best to make her happy at her own pace. That evening, the family sat together in the living room. Dad, Mom, Chloe said, her eyes shining. I'm finally happy. I understand now what a real family is. And I know I have people who will always protect me. James put his arms around his wife and daughter. We will always be here for each other. No matter what. Chloe looked out the window at the setting sun. This is my new beginning, she whispered. My scars will become my strength to help others. She had started studying to become a counselor for victims of abuse. Her pain had not broken her. It had forged her into a protector for others who were suffering in silence. In the end, it is often through our deepest wounds that we find our greatest purpose. And true strength isn't about never falling. It's about the courage to rise and to help others find their feet, too. If you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. Every comment is a source of great strength for us. Thank you so much for watching.